The fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
You have one of the landmark buildings down in the financial district, 40 Wall Street. Did you have any damage, or did you know what's happened down there?
Well, it was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and it was actually, before the World Trade Center, was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest.
Oh, good God. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday, you bastards. You okay? You okay? All right, good. Stay strong. This is the 19th anniversary of 9/11, the day that we commemorate and we look back on, and we thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen. No longer. No. Think about where we are right now. Just think about all that's going on right now. California, Oregon, Washington State. It looks like Mars. Have you seen these photos? Like they're like orange Mars landscapes. You had 500,000 people having to evacuate in Oregon yesterday. That's like that's like a tenth of the entire population of the state having to evacuate, right? You got heat waves, 121 degrees in Los Angeles. You got hurricanes, derechos in freaking landlocked states, Iowa, right? We got a pandemic. We're in the middle of it. We got our Sturgis bump. Yay! We got our and job loss and evictions underway, and white supremacy being the number one threat America faces now, 19 years later, and constant chaos and a lying sack of crap as the president, and on top of it, we're probably looking at a constitutional crisis. Woohoo! Hey, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You better stay strong. You better hang in there, because here's where we are as far as death. 9/11, 3,000 people perished on that day, more or less. And everybody was like, oh my God. Wow. Oh my. And here, if you take the count that we have, 192,443 lost souls, lost moms, dads, grandparents, children, aunts, uncles, brothers, right? If 192,443 dead Americans because a man was too lazy to do anything to, stem the. That is 63 9/11s. Oh my God! I mean, even the death cult has to understand that is 63 9/11s. That it is more than the amount of people we lost in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Vietnam, in Korea, combined. Oh my God. So it's like if we had one 9/11 every single day until November 17th, 63 days from now, and it just kept on going. You know why it's not as shocking and horror, because it's not as photogenic as 9/11. It doesn't, you can't capture it on the morning TV that way. You can't capture a whole bunch of Saudis and a couple of guys from the UAE, oh yeah, slamming airplanes into the World Trade Center tower, North and South Tower, slamming an airplane into the Pentagon, and then the Let's Roll crew, right? See, Americans, Donald Trump can't tell us the truth because America panics. Can you imagine what went on that Shanksville flight? Can you imagine? No one freaking panicked, okay? They said, this is it. We need to be on the right side of history. This plane is going into the freaking White House. It's going into, we know where they're going. Time to roll. Time to do this. And they crashed their own damn plane so that history could be influenced by their heroism. But Donald Trump is too afraid to tell you that we have a virus that you need to be careful of, that you need to keep social distance, that you need to wash your hands and wear a face mask. It's just too frightening. I mean, this is such bull crap. I can't even stand it. And I just watch every day another 1,200 people dead, another 1,200 people. You know, it's like Murder by Numbers. Do you know that song? If you don't, go listen to it, by the Police. Murder by Numbers. Oh. That's Donald Trump. That's him. I wish I could play music. I can't. But can you imagine? Like, we had one of the dumbest presidents, we thought, in the history of the world, George W. Bush, standing on top of a pile of rubble, saying the whole world will hear us now, right? And the people that brought down these buildings will hear from us all, right? If Donald Trump had to stand on a pile of rubble for a photo op for COVID, he'd have to stand on those mass graves at Potter's Field and a whole bunch more just like them. That's what we're dealing with. And the only problem, not photogenic. That's why. Although Trump would not even been trying to say the right things. There's no way. I mean, you know, he would have blamed this. See this pile of rubble? Democratic governors did this. I mean, if you gave him the opportunity to stand on 32,000 dead bodies, you know, in New York, that's how many died there, and blame Cuomo, he'd do it. He would happily do it. He would, of course, gleefully do it. But it's just, it's so amazing. So last night, what does this COVID intense president do? What does he do? He has a freaking 5,000 person rally in Michigan with no social distancing and no face masks. You couldn't have a better super spreader event. You couldn't have one except for Sturgis. Now remember, you know, there's a lag between the actual event, that is the super spreader event, the onset of disease, hospitalizations, and finally death. So if you time out Sturgis, it's going to be like just in time. The lag between infection and hospitalization and death, it will be just in time for the election. So is he telling his death cult because he knows he's going to lose, that they didn't do it for him and so they should die too? And so he's gathering them around to, you know, drink the virus instead of the Kool-Aid. It's, it's a virus. It's so weird. It's like he's killing them too, because they won't be enough to put him over the top. They won't be enough to get him reelected, and so he's punishing them now. It's just so creepy. I don't know. We're 52 days away from the election, and he doesn't mind infecting his legions at these rallies. I don't know, as long as they survive long enough to vote. But he knows in his head it's not going to be enough to put. I don't know. It's just. But here's what the president actually is doing. This is what he's doing. These are his own freaking words. This is frightening, but this is literally what he said.
You have people. I watch some of the shows. I watched Liz McDonald. She's fantastic. I watched Fox Business. I watched Lou Dobbs last night, Sean Hannity last night, Tucker last night, Laura. I watched Fox and Friends in the morning. You watch these shows, you don't have to go too far into the details. They cover things that are, it's really an amazing thing.
The president watched 6 hours of Fox News. 6 hours. No wonder he has a skewed sense of reality. The only time that this president isn't watching Fox is when he's on Fox, and I'm sure he's watching it then too. He's so busy, everybody. He's so busy, doing things, watching television and infecting his base. This is so freaky. And then he had the nerve to tell us last night at this rally that he's right up there with FDR and Churchill. Winston Churchill, who, after the Blitzkrieg, after the bombing of London, everybody remembers Winston Churchill standing up and telling the British people it is what it is. Right? Now,
all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Today marks 19 years since 9/11. We see a president who likes to talk tough about radical Islamist terrorism, reportedly insulting the courage of the soldiers and generals who've been fighting the war on terror ever since. So let's look back to see what Donald Trump was doing on 9/11 after the first responders ran into the fire.
40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and now it's the tallest.
Yes, he managed to use a tragic terrorist attack in real time to pump up the size of his skyscraper. Years later, Trump bragged about being on the rubble of Ground Zero.
Everyone who helped clear the rubble, and I was there,
no, he
and
wasn't.
I watched, and I helped a little bit. You didn't know what was going to come down on all of us.
There's no record of Donald Trump being at the pile at Ground Zero. But maybe he's conflating himself with people who work for him. It's a common rich guy mistake. But even that claim, that Trump paid hundreds of guys to search through the rubble after the attack, would have to be false, because the Ground Zero perimeter was restricted in the days after the attacks. I remember because I was working at City Hall at the time. Trump said he saw thousands of Muslims in New Jersey celebrating the attacks. There's no evidence this happened. Trump said he'd donate $10,000 to the Twin Towers Fund. There's no record of that. There's actually no record of any 9/11 related donations from the alleged billionaire before he ran for president. And with so many firefighter funerals held at St. Patrick's Cathedral, just 4 blocks from Trump Tower, there's also no record of Trump attending a service to pay his respects. So if you're surprised by the Atlantic's reporting that President Trump said American soldiers who died in wars are losers and suckers, and didn't want to see disabled vets in his military parades, or that he denigrated dead Marines buried in a World War I cemetery, or that he stood next to his former Chief of Staff John Kelly at the grave of his son Robert Kelly, who died in Afghanistan, and said, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" Well, you're right to be outraged, but you haven't been paying attention.
Seriously. He is just, he is the master of chaos is what he is, and he can't tell the truth. His pie hole just won't form truthful words. It just won't. Every once in a while, he walks into a story that has truth to it, like, guess what I did last night? I watched Fox Business, 2 shows, then I switched over to Hannity, then I watched Laura, then I, probably called Bob Woodward and told him I don't think there's any such thing as white privilege, and then I, took a pill or something, I don't know, went to sleep and woke up to Fox and Friends. This is the President of the United States of America. This is what he's doing in the middle of out of control, never seen before wildfires, which obviously are a result of climate change. Nobody has ever seen anything like these mega fires, these heat waves, the droughts that are there. So you have a climate crisis, you have fires, you have heat waves, a pandemic, evictions in the middle of a pandemic, like a lot of them, especially in Texas, job loss. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, which was created as a result, how many times have I told you this? DHS, Department of Homeland Security, was created in response to 9/11. And now we're finding out that this legacy Department of Homeland Security, which always sounded fascist to me, is now living up to its fascist-sounding name. They are literally under at the behest of Donald Trump being ordered to change the intelligence reports in the agency that was meant to provide security for the homeland. And instead, the Department of Homeland Security is securing the homeland for Donald Trump. There's a whistleblower at DHS. This guy is a piece of work, okay? Because anybody that works for Donald Trump is going to be a piece of work. This guy who is sounding the alarm about the intelligence being doctored, the intelligence being rigged to leave out the biggest threats America faces currently, leave out Russia, who has hacked into the Hillary Rosen group that works on behalf of Joe Biden. Microsoft yesterday notified Hillary Rosen's think tank, their group, that the Russians, that same exact Russian intelligence outfit in St. Petersburg, Fancy Bear, same exact group of people that Mueller indicted, right, have hacked into or tried to hack into. They said that they were not successful, but that they're doing it again. The Russians are, and so DHS was told, leave that out of the report, and instead of Russia is using active measures to interfere in our elections yet again, make it Iran and China. And this one guy, Rick Murphy, he wasn't willing to do it. He wasn't willing to do it. The other thing he was asked to downplay. Everything is downplay. I always wanted to downplay. I always, wanted to down. The other thing he wanted to downplay was the biggest terrorist threat that America faces, here on the homeland, which is white supremacy. The draft document that the Department of Homeland Security, that Politico was able to get, says white supremacists are the greatest terror threat in the United States. Well, Donald Trump and Chad Wolf went to this guy, Rick Murphy, and the reason why I say he has dirty hands is because Rick Murphy was putting together dossiers, swear to God, on journalists. I mean, how much more commie can you get? How much more Stasi can you get? How much more Nazi fascist can you get than creating, blacklists of journalists? I mean, this is McCarthy era crap. This is really ugly. Anyway, that's what this guy Murphy was doing over at DHS. And then all of a sudden he got these orders to downplay the white terrorist, the white supremacist threat, and to downplay Russia's active measures, and instead focus on China has a preference, and they don't think that they don't think they want Trump again. That's their preference, and he wouldn't do it. So he became a whistleblower, and he followed the legal procedure to become a whistleblower. And of course, the White House deny, hardly even knew him. He's a disgruntled employee, right? Same exact stuff. Is he afraid we're going to panic if we know that white supremacy is the biggest threat, terror threat that the United States, is he afraid that we'll panic? We don't panic. Is he afraid that if we knew that Russia was hacking again, we don't panic. Why would we panic over, white supremacists? They're very fine people, right? Right? So why is he wanting to downplay the number one terrorist threat America faces? Why? And they literally told this man not to disseminate the report. Don't disseminate.
70-38-44.
Brian Murphy came forward to say that there was a concerted effort inside DHS to downplay Russia and to elevate China and Iran. So here's what just an excerpt of the whistleblower complaint says. In mid-May 2020, Mr. Wolf, who is the acting director of DHS, instructed the whistleblower, Mr. Murphy, to cease providing intelligence assessments on the threat of Russian interference in the U.S. and instead start reporting on the interference activities by China and Iran. So, forgive alarm bells for going off when suddenly Microsoft the next day says, oh, Chinese, Iranian, and Russian hackers are all doing this. I mean, you're saying it's not a level playing field. They're not all equal.
Correct. They're not all equal. I think the American public should be reassured that the professionals are doing the job correctly. It is very concerning to read what Mr. Murphy put in his Inspector General's report, that the whistleblower report, that there appears to be this political tinkering with intelligence, which is a huge red line. We're not supposed to do that. And if true, huge problem. I don't have direct knowledge of it. I will say that when I read it, it struck me as consistent with changes we've seen across the government, at the intelligence community, at DHS. In the last 6 to 8 months, we've seen a much more deliberate politicization of the institutions that have for 200 years been seen as apolitical. And as one of your previous guests noted, the problem with that is that Americans, that the whole democracy or our concept as a country is that Americans are putting their trust in the government, and the way that they address any concerns with their government is they vote people out of office. If you don't trust the institutions to do things correctly, our democracy starts to falter. And so it's very, very concerning that we're seeing this politicization, because it leads to further mistrust of the government.
I mean, this entire agency, the Department of Homeland Security, had a really fascist-sounding name when W invented it, and I hated it. And, this woman that's talking to you here, she is a Republican. She resigned because of things like this. She worked at DHS. She was the Assistant Secretary of Counterintelligence and Threat Assessment at DHS. Her name's Elizabeth Newman. And she walked out the door because she realized that the Trump administration was, what she said, tweaking. They were rigging the intelligence assessments so that, this department, okay, they make these threat assessments, and then they send these threat assessments. Guess where? Guess where, everybody? Threat assessments about Russian hacking, where would they go? Threat assessments about white supremacy being a terrorist threat, the likes of which the United States hasn't seen probably, since the 1900s, okay? So these reports go to secretaries of state who are running elections, and they go to law enforcement. And now you have this guy who is compromised. I mean, the guy is, like I said, he has dirty hands. He was putting together dossiers on journalists for Donald Trump, but he thought it was a bridge too far to tweak the intelligence to say Russia isn't doing anything in his threat assessment, when they are. The next day, Microsoft notified this group that they hacked into their computer system the very next day. So this guy, I keep calling him Ryan Murphy because I love Ryan Murphy. No, it's Brian Murphy, not to be, Ryan Murphy and all those other, I mean, he does great work. But no, his name's Brian Murphy. And so Brian Murphy, who was the former head of the Homeland Security Department's intelligence branch, decided that he was going to make a whistleblower complaint because law enforcement wasn't getting any of the real information about, white supremacy being the terror. Instead, he was told to make Donald Trump's lies that Antifa was somehow a terrorist threat. There was nothing in the intelligence assessment, nothing at all. Career professionals do these analyses, right? And there was nothing at all about Antifa being, any sort of a threat to the United States of America, nothing. And, I guess Donald Trump and Bill Barr decided that they were going to go play that to the American, base. They were going to go play that to, his crowd. And there was information that was coming out that said white supremacists are the greatest terrorist threat. And there was no mention of any other group being a threat to the homeland. No, nothing. And they're supposed to give these intelligence documents to the FBI. They're supposed to give them to the secretaries of state for election purposes, and they're supposed to give them to law enforcement. And in May, Chad, these guys are not confirmed for their positions. It's unbelievable. These guys couldn't make it through Senate confirmation hearings. But in May, Chad Wolf directed Brian Murphy to stop providing assessments of the Russian threat because it made Donald Trump feel bad. And he didn't want the white supremacy, memo going out either. And then 2 months later, in July, Chad Wolf went again to Brian Murphy and said, hold back the warning that Russia is mounting a disinformation campaign around Joe Biden's mental health because it makes Donald Trump look bad. Brian Murphy objected. He said it's improper to hold back intelligence because of political embarrassment. And he was retaliated against. He was pushed out of his office. Ken Cuccinelli, who is, working at the immigration department, he asked him to kill intelligence reports outlining high levels of corruption, violence, and poor economic conditions in El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. Why? Because those were the people that were making claims of asylum, saying that their countries had high levels of violence, poor economic conditions, and government corruption, and they were in fear for their lives. So he said, change those reports, and Ryan Murphy said no. So then Cuccinelli ordered him and another guy named David Glaw to produce the names of the deep state employees who were crafting these documents. And if he didn't produce the names of the deep state intelligence analysts, he would be fired or reassigned. Murphy thought that was illegal, and he thought it was an abuse of Cuccinelli's authority, and he refused to carry it out. They also then started blocking the threat assessments about white supremacy being the biggest threat America faces. And so he went and filed a whistleblower complaint. Now, he will testify on September 21st, but in private. We won't get to hear any of this in front of the House Judiciary Committee, but in private behind closed doors. Right ahead. I mean, this is just...
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I actually view the news that Microsoft put out as a good sign. We knew that this was happening. We've seen intel reports, the DNI earlier this year, saying that Russia was going to do this. It's great that Microsoft is detecting it and they're sharing the information. I think that there are really great public servants at our cybersecurity agency, at DHS, at the intelligence community level, and they're working strongly with the tech companies, and they are doing what they need to do to secure this election. I feel very, very confident that that the government is doing a much better job than we did in 2016. The tech companies are doing a better job. That said, it would help if we could have clear and consistent messaging from the very top of our government that, in fact, Russia is an enemy when it comes to this matter. They are intending to sow dissent in our democracy. They are trying to undermine us through a variety of means and mechanisms. And while we also have a similar problem posed by China and Iran, it is not nearly as sophisticated, not nearly as intense as what Russia poses to the United States.
I mean, these are the people that stand on that wall. These are the people, and she is a Republican, and she still is a Republican, but she resigned her position because she wouldn't rig intelligence. She wouldn't do it. And Brian Murphy also is a whistleblower, and he wouldn't do it. And the cutoff for him was the threat of white supremacy being removed from FBI warnings, from law enforcement warnings. Now we have the Russia hack that failed. It wasn't able to penetrate the system that it was going after because they had a lot of software on their they had firewalls and other security around their computer information. But I mean, it's just so unbelievable how he's destroying every single agency that was created to protect us from terrorist threats. And today is 9/11. What a sad reminder that 9/11 was not the worst thing that could happen to this country. I mean, I thought it was. Didn't you? I mean, for the longest, I thought that is as bad as it will ever get. Oh my God, these are freaking airplanes that were allowed to make U-turns in the sky for 4 hours, that were full of fuel, that were flying cross country from Boston to L.A., and they detoured and made U-turns and headed back to Boston. They instead of going out west, they came back east. And people saw them on their radar screens and nothing was done. I mean, I thought that was the worst thing that could happen. I really did. No, I was wrong. Somebody asked me the other day, when have I ever been wrong recently? So I was wrong that 9/11 was the worst thing that could happen to America. Wrong. I was wrong. There you have it. No, it isn't. All that we're facing now is astronomical. The amount of death that follows this kind of leadership, the amount of catastrophe. I mean, it's one calamity after another. And he just lies and watches TV. I can't believe he actually admitted that he sits there and watches TV. And it's not just TV. He watches propaganda. He watches Fox Business. He's the viewer. Fox Business has like 2 viewers, Lou Dobbs' girlfriend and Donald Trump. That's it. That's the only people on the planet that could suffer through Fox Business. But he watches the shows on Fox Business. Then he turns it over to Hannity. Then he goes to Laura. Then he does whatever he does. He makes phone calls in the middle of the night. He paces, whatever. And then in the morning, he's back watching Fox and Friends. I mean, really, when you're getting your news from Gutfield, I mean, you're so screwed. And we're just and Fauci, I have to tell you, I feel so bad for Fauci. Oh my God, he actually had to say that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's truly, truly disheartening that what he has to do all the time, and he was being diplomatic about it because he didn't name Donald Trump. But he all but named Donald Trump. He said, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I waste my time having to debunk bullcrap. I have to waste my time telling people not to inject disinfectant, not to put lightsabers up their butt, not to take hydroxychloroquine, that, convalescent plasma, it could work, it couldn't, nobody knows. I have to, I'm the one that has to, say Mike Lindell has my pillow guy has no idea what he's talking about. I mean, this is really sad.
The whole scientific process, if done correctly, is evidence-based. And when it's evidence-based, it's documented in the literature and it's documented in our common practices that we do. So I don't really have any issue that our COVID-19 response is not going to be ultimately documented so that we have pandemic preparedness later on. The one thing that bothers me is the amount of things that aren't evidence-based. And we've seen examples of that in the United States, like claims that certain drugs have a great positive effect when there's no scientific evidence whatsoever that they have a positive effect. And yet it gets ingrained. And I and my colleagues have to spend a lot of time trying to debunk that. And when you're in the middle of a pandemic and you're trying hard to address all the appropriate issues, it is truly a waste of time to have to debunk nonsense. But, unfortunately, we've had to do that.
Oh, that is just, I mean.
So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
We'll get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful. What do you have to lose? Take it. I really think they should take it. Hydroxychloroquine. Try it. Hydroxychloroquine, which I think, as you know, it's a great malaria drug. It's worked unbelievably.
Don't we deserve something better than that? At long last, don't we deserve someone better than that in the midst of all of this? I say yes.
It was 2 million, 2.5 million, maybe even more than that if we did it a different way. And we've done a really good job. But if you look at our numbers, our fatality numbers compared to other countries, we're in really, I mean, it's amazing what we've done. We've been able to do something that a country, especially with the kind of size we're dealing with, we've done an incredible job.
We're worst in the world. Absolutely worst in the world.
We're going to look at some of these charts.
I'd love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
death
started to go up again.
One. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than the world?
Lower than Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why
to go,
can't I do that?
You have to go by.
You can't do that.
You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why not as a proportion of population?
When we have somebody. What it says is when you have somebody that has where there's a case.
Oh, okay.
The people that live from those cases.
It's surely a relevant statistic to say if the US has X population and X percentage of death of that population versus South Korea.
No, you have to go by the cases.
Oh, no, you don't go by the cases. You go by how many people are dead. And we are worst in the world. Worst in the world. And even if you went by cases and how many people survive it, we're still 11th. There are hundreds of countries that do better with it than we do. Because he's pushing light and disinfectant, hydroxychloroquine, and plasma.
Mary had a little ram.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape. But you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. You know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. You know, so this is deadly stuff.
So yeah, he knew.
This is like a flu. Of the 15 people, the original 15 as I call them, 8 of them have returned to their homes. We're going down, not up. We're going very substantially down, not up. And again, when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0, That's a pretty good job we've done. And I think the virus is going to be fine. And, in April, supposedly, it dies with the hotter weather. And that's a beautiful date to look forward to. We have it very much under control in this country.
People are getting better. They're all getting better. There's a very good chance you're not going to die. In fact, we're very close to a vaccine.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
This is incredible. And so he was asked, why lie? What is this about now? What is the lying about? And of course, righteous indignation.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say now?
Such a terrible question, and the phraseology. I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm. We can't be panicked. I knew that the tapes these were a series of phone calls that we had, mostly phone calls. And Bob Woodward is somebody that I respect just from hearing the name for many, many years, not knowing too much about his work, not caring about his work. But I thought it would be interesting to talk to him for a period of, calls. So we did that. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't even know if the book is good or bad. But certainly if he thought that was a bad statement, he would have reported it because he thinks that, you don't want to have anybody that is going to suffer medically because of some fact. And he didn't report it because he didn't think it was bad. Nobody thought it was bad. Wait a minute. And your question, the way you phrase that is such a disgrace. It's a disgrace to ABC television network. It's a disgrace to your employer. And that's the answer.
Okay, this is really crazy. So Bob Woodward should have told the authorities, which is what he said again yesterday. He is the president of the United States. What authority? Again, he was supposed to call EMTs. Bob Woodward was supposed to call 911. I don't know. And if he did write an article, let's say, not that he's like an honorary member of the Washington Post staff, but he doesn't write for the Post anymore. But if he did decide to write an article, like Anonymous wrote an article, like the Dereliction of Duty article, or You Just Can't Trust Trump article, or, any of the medical scientists that have been, all that would have happened was they would have denied it earlier. They would have denied everything earlier. So wait, what? He's talking to the president of the United States, Woodward is. And the president of the United States is telling Bob Woodward, this is nothing like the flu. This is so much more contagious. It's airborne. You don't have to, touch a surface. It's aerosolized. It's in the air. So where were the masks? Where was the requirement? Where was the social distancing? Where was, the ordering of the... Nothing. And now he's blaming Bob Woodward. And he did it again.
If Bob Woodward thought what I said was bad, then he should have immediately, right after I said it, gone out to the authorities so they can prepare and let them know. But he didn't think it was bad, and he said he didn't think it was bad.
Okay, that's not true.
He actually said he didn't think it was bad.
False.
The only one that said it was bad or thinks it was bad were the fake news media, because they take it and they try and put it a certain way. If Bob Woodward thought it was bad, then he should have immediately gone out publicly, not wait 4 months. He's had that statement for 4 months, maybe 5 months. He's had it for a long time. It was a series of taped interviews, mostly by telephone. Quick ones, not long ones, quick ones.
That's a lie.
And I did it out of curiosity because I do have respect and I want to see. I wonder whether or not somebody like that can write good. I don't think he can, but let's see what happens.
Write good? You mean write well, sir. You mean write well, don't you? I want to see if he can write good. Bob Woodward wrote a whole book about Donald Trump called Fear. This one's called Rage. He is obviously they've made movies about Woodward and Bernstein, the president's men. Right? Everybody knows who they. And all of a sudden, it's Bob Woodward's responsibility to call 911 or some such crap. I don't even understand what he's talking about there. But he had a rally last night where he is literally killing his own supporters. He truly is. And I think it's because he knows they're about to be losers. And he doesn't like losers. So he's, willing to sacrifice them. I have no other explanation for why he's doing large rallies without social distancing or any mask wearing, but he compared himself last night. The nerve of this man. Like, if this weren't written on a teleprompter, Donald Trump would know how to quote Winston Churchill or Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Like, if somebody didn't put it in their teleprompter. Now, first of all, he misquotes, so whoever put it in the teleprompter is wrong. Because Donald Trump is going to say Winston Churchill said in the middle of the attack on Britain, keep calm and carry on. That never happened. That's not anything that happened. But somebody put it in the teleprompter, and he decided he was going to read it to his fans with his explanation for why he lied. Why he lied.
They want to destroy your suburbs. Look at what I've done for your suburbs. You know what I've...
wow, this is crazy, but okay.
America will prevail over the China virus. As Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That's it.
That's it.
We're doing very well.
We're doing very well. That's what he said.
As the British government advised the British people in the face of World War II, keep calm and carry on. That's what I did. This whack job that wrote the book, he said, well, Trump knew a little bit. They wanted me to come out and scream, people are dying, we're dying. No, we did it just the right way. We have to be calm. We don't want to be crazed lunatics.
Donald Trump's entire brand is fear-mongering. His entire brand is telling you what to be afraid of. Inventing things for you to be afraid of. Inventing, lunatic, fringy ideas and telling you to be afraid of them and then telling you who to blame because you're fearful. That is his entire brand. That is everything he's about. And he's sitting there saying he lied, he had to lie, because he thinks his choices were lie to the American people. This is what he wants you to believe, that he thought his choices were lie to the American people about the deadly COVID epidemic and how it's transmitted and what you could do to protect yourself and your family, or tell everybody death is coming, the bubonic plague is that's not true. The only panic he was afraid of was the stock market panic. That's what he was afraid of. He was afraid the economy would tank, and the only thing he had going for him was Obama's economy. That's it. That's the whole explanation. And I'm going to show you that, because right after he said, we don't want a bunch of crazy lunacy. That's not what I wanted to do. What was I going to go out there and scream death, death? He starts screaming about everything you need to be afraid of. Oh my God, your suburbs are going to be inundated with Antifa. Oh, hello, darling. Who's our new neighbor? It's Antifa. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's get that. Biden's going to destroy your he just started fear-mongering based on nothing. No truth. Nothing.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, everybody, no fear or crazy lunacy. That's Trump's motto.
Now he wants to surrender our country to the violent left-wing mob. Rioters, anarchists, arsonists, and flag burners flood your state with refugees from terrorist hotspots around the world. The left wants to get rid of me so they can come after you. Confiscate your guns, shut down auto production, delay the vaccine. They want to destroy your suburbs and indoctrinate your children. The murder rate in Democrat-run cities is higher than in Afghanistan. You will have crime like you've never seen before. No city, town, or suburb will be safe.
It's sick. It's so twisted. It's so sad. It's so complete. And this was in the same breath. 1 minute he's saying the reason I had to lie to you is because I needed you to be calm. I needed you to be calm and breathe deeply in the COVID. And that's what I needed you to do. Because I don't believe in fear-mongering and crazy lunacy. And then in the next breath, he tells you all this crazy lunacy. This is incredible. See, it does matter who the president of the United States is, and this is dishonesty at an epic proportion. This is an epic dereliction of duty. When Biden was played the Woodward tapes, he there are no words. He just said, "This is disgusting."
It's disgusting. We learned this on the day that we turned 190,000 Americans dead, and he knew this. I understand he had just gotten off the phone when he did the first interview with Woodward. He'd just gotten off the phone with Xi Jinping, where he's praising Xi Jinping about transparency, and this is nothing to worry about, and this is going to go away like a miracle.
Well, the way that President Trump explains it, and he said this to Woodward on March 19th, if you take a listen.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
He said something similar this afternoon. He said he didn't want to create a panic. That's why he downplayed it. He said leadership is about confidence.
Yeah, and that's why we have no confidence in his leadership.
Oh!
And then he downshifted into calling soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, P words. Yeah, that's what he called them. Losers, suckers. What's in it for them? I mean, the man is disgusting, and that is the word for him. He is so self-absorbed. Truly, I can't even imagine why people like him. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. The man watches hours of Fox TV, tells you that that's all he does, calls Bob Woodward 19 times. He called Bob Woodward 19 times. 19 times. And he was trying to impress him, Jamie Gangel has read the book. CNN got one advance copy. They gave it to Jamie Gangel, and she's been reporting on what's in it, what's in this book. And this book is devastating because it's the president on tape saying these things. And apparently Donald Trump was so anxious to impress Bob Woodward because Donald Trump thinks he's this great negotiator. He thinks he's a great businessman. Drove 6 companies into absolute, utter oblivion, bankruptcy, stiffed contractors. This with his father's help, okay, and running casinos where the house always wins. Donald Trump got $3 million from his dad to pay bills that were due because he was mismanaging casinos and still took them bankrupt and still stiffed every working man that painted or put in a window or drywalled or did electrical or whatever. Never paid. Even the guy that sold him pianos never got paid. I mean, it's so sick. So he's a terrible businessman, even with a mega head start from his daddy, hundreds of millions of dollars. And but he still fancies himself as a negotiator. So he thought that he could impress Bob Woodward, right, by showing him pictures of him and Kim Jong-un and sharing the love letters between him and a man that runs a hermit nation that is really a prison planet for his people, right? And he decided he was going to put on his desk what Bob Woodward refers to as props. And he put props on his, he put the letters, he put, posters of him and Kim Jong-un. And he said to Woodward, want to see something really cool? Want to see something really cool? And he showed him a picture of him stepping over the North-South Korea border and said, isn't that cool? I'm the only one that did that. I'm the only one. He got nothing for it except he legitimized Kim Jong-un to his own prison planet people, right? But he gave him a poster of Kim Jong-un and him, a poster, and asked, does anybody have one of those, long rolly things so that we don't fold it? Because if you fold it, you ruin it. Or a rubber band, he said. I mean, this is so crazy because he thought that he could tell Bob Woodward really horrific things, but get Bob Woodward to realize the strength of a Donald Trump and write a strong book. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. But still, he was trying to impress him, right? So he tells Bob Woodward about some nuclear project that the United States is working on, something so top secret. And Bob Woodward doesn't have a security clearance. So top secret that Xi doesn't know about it and Kim Jong-un doesn't know. No one knows about it.
One other revelation from the book is that Trump appears to have revealed a new classified U.S. weapons system, the existence of it, to Woodward. He said, quote, "I have built a weapon system that nobody's ever had in this country before," unquote. Woodward says his sources confirmed the existence of this classified weapons system. What's your response to that?
Can't speak to the system, but it's not a surprise. You wonder why people in the Intelligence Committee wondered from the very beginning whether you could share data with him.
Right.
Because they don't trust him. They don't trust what he'll say or do. He seems to have no conception. I know I sound, but he seems to have no conception of what constitutes national security. No conception of anything other than what can he do to promote himself. This is the guy who said maybe the way to deal with hurricanes is drop a nuclear bomb on them.
It's so sick. But yeah, and now he's rigging the intelligence. Okay, now he's instructing the Department of Homeland Security to change the intelligence as he gives nuclear secrets to reporters that he says he hardly knows. This is unbelievable. This is so incredible.
But I have built a weapon system that nobody's ever had in this country before. We have stuff that you haven't even seen or heard about. We have stuff that Putin and Xi have never heard about before. There's nobody. What we have is incredible.
What the actual F? You can't trust him. And this is exactly what the intelligence community was saying, that this person, depending on who he's talking to, if he wants to impress them, he will give away the store. He will literally give away nuclear information. He'll give away troop deployments, movements. I mean, it's crazy.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
The President of the United States has one primary obligation, and that's to protect the American people. And part of that is to protect our national security secrets. Now, people joked when Donald Trump came in that, can we trust this guy with the nuclear codes? Well, here's Donald Trump basically proving to us in real time that he can't be trusted with the nation's secrets. This is the type of information that if someone like me with a security clearance came out and validated, we'd go to prison.
Right.
This would be prosecutable. This would be criminal release of classified information. Now, I won't confirm or deny whether what Donald Trump said was true, but once again, if someone below the president had made these types of disclosures, it would be criminal in nature. What's worrisome here is that by talking about sensitive programs, even if the president isn't giving the specific details, he is giving our adversaries a roadmap to go try to find more about those programs. Right now, I'm sure the Chinese and the Russians are telling their operatives in the United States, go find out more about this, and about a program that, if it exists, they otherwise wouldn't have known about. This is damning, and it is damaging to our national security.
Oh, for God's sake.
We're being damaged by our own president. Why would that be? Like I said, the only debate is he stupid or is he evil? That's the only debate that is left. Period. All right, this is our fall fundraiser ahead of the election for Free Speech TV. That is where we are. And so I must ask for you to help us pay for, basically, our election coverage, because we don't know how long it's going to take. Okay. So if you can donate to freespeech.org today, that would be wonderful. Freespeech.org. If you like going direct to the page, go to freespeech.org/donate. Or if you're a phone person, toll free 877-378-8669. If you can't, no problem. We're still here for you. And I get it. But if you can, that would be wonderful. 877-378-8669. Ask them about, the social distancing kit, the tote bags, the signed hats, that, the Just Effin' Vote T-shirts. There's all kinds of stuff. And they'll explain everything to you. So thanks a lot. Angela in New York.
Hi, Randy.
Hi,
Thanks for
Aunt.
taking my call. I wanted to answer your question. About whether why people like Trump.
Yeah.
And I can tell you why people like Trump. My sister-in-law, who is liberal as liberal can be, now supports him. And the reason being is because her portfolio looks pretty damn good right now because he's pumping up Wall Street. My brother likes him because my brother's a racist.
Oh.
And, of course, Trump supports that. I'm a mental health professional, and sometimes I think, okay, he's evil. But really what it comes down to is that he is a narcissist, and he's also borderline personality disorder. In other words, he is just an unstable person who can't manage his life and his emotions, creates chaos, and just, if he doesn't get his way, he's going to destroy everything and everybody around him, including his own supporters.
Yeah.
So what's going on at this point right now with the people that do support him is that it's almost like being in an abusive relationship with someone. They'll give you gifts, they'll make you feel good about yourself, they'll give you what you want right before they punch you in the face.
Right.
So this is exactly
But what
what's
people need
going
to
on.
understand, people need to understand that good management of, the Treasury it won't mean that you lose money. We always lose money under Republicans. They crash it on their way out the door. And this will be no different. So there's that. The racism stuff is getting completely out of control dangerous, okay? The biggest terrorism threat that these United States face are from our own people being ginned up and encouraged by Donald Trump, who takes the McCloskeys, who did nothing but point guns at peaceful protesters and put them into his freaking convention as a warning to peaceful protesters. Look, this is not the American way. Everybody deep down inside, everybody, including Trump supporters, know this country doesn't feel right. Okay? No. It doesn't feel right. Something is so wrong beyond the pandemic, beyond the ignorance, beyond the giving away of our secrets, beyond the hydroxychloroquine and the, hey, let's, shoot disinfectant, beyond all this lack of leadership. They know something feels un-American here. And it is what he's doing un-American. And the idea that if he got another term, that he wouldn't go about trying to get rid of term limits for the president so he could be president for life. Please don't let that get lost on people.
No, I agree with you. And also the other issue is that my fear and everybody's fear right now is the fact that he's going to create maximum chaos. He's already on the way. He's already there.
I keep telling you he is.
Worse.
It is going to get worse before it gets better. There's no question about it. He is ginning up violence in this country, like he would say, the likes of which no one has ever seen.
Yep.
I don't know that people will take him up on it once he loses, but I do know that's what he wants. I do know that's his plan. Yes. I know he's going to be in 40 states with litigation. He's going to contest the election. I know he's going to declare himself the winner. I know his sycophants are going to, they're all strapped and armed. And just like they went to try and behead Whitmer there in Michigan, they're going to go after us. And, for one reason only, everybody has to understand, no matter how racist you want to be, okay, it's going to get dangerous for you.
Yeah.
For you.
Exactly.
So
this is what I try to tell people, but they don't listen. And I'm really, as you said, I'm really worried about what's going to happen after November. I think it is going to get worse before it gets better. And all I can tell people is that they need to look at why they support him. If they do support him, look at the reasons why, because he's just giving you what you want. Okay, for now, but sooner or later...
He's not giving them what they want, okay? Their schools aren't open, and they don't have, jobs. He lied last night. He went to freaking Michigan and lied about automobile manufacturing. They're down about 20,000 jobs since Donald Trump became president. He just lied to them and said, you better vote for me because I gave you all these auto plants. There were no auto plants. He lied, and they... literally, we're cheering him, and it's just bizarre because they're down 20,000 jobs. America is down 11.5 million jobs since Donald Trump became president. So, I mean, there are gullible people. There are people that P.T. Barnum said were suckers and that there was one born every minute. But America as a group, okay, we don't want this, okay? I'm looking at.
We don't.
Even the military. I looked at some polling today, military polling. I put it in the homework. Only 38% of enlisted people support him, and that was before the conventions and before he called them suckers. So I just and I can't see the military doing anything against their own citizens. I can't. Yes, there are miscreants. This is why Donald Trump pardoned a war criminal like Gallagher, okay, and got people to cheer for him. He needs these thugs. He needs these killers. He needs the people that do it for, giggles, do it because it makes them feel strong. He needs those guys. There are fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer of those guys. Plus, only 0.5% of the entire population of America is in the military. That's just a sad fact.
Clear for. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is a Woodward call after the George Floyd murder.
Hey, but let me ask you this. We share one thing in common. We're white, privileged, my father was a lawyer and a judge in Illinois, and we know what your dad did. And do you have any sense that privilege has isolated and put you in a cave to a certain extent, as it put me and I think lots of white privileged people in a cave, and that we have to work our way out of it to understand the anger and the pain particularly black people feel in this country? Do you?
No, you really drank the Kool-Aid, didn't you? Listen to you. Wow. No, I don't feel that at all.
Wow, you really drank the Kool-Aid. Listen to you. No, I don't feel that at all. Okay. Michael Cohen was interviewed and asked, how does Donald Trump really feel about black people?
Michael, let's talk about race. I mentioned some of the quotes, if we can put some of them up. And this is from page 272, Trump on Nelson Mandela. Mandela effed the whole country up. Now it's a hole. F Mandela. He is no leader. And then on page 107, you said, as a rule, Trump expressed low opinions of all black folks, from music to culture and politics. Africa was a hellhole, he believed. Nelson Mandela, to use but one example, was an object of contempt for Trump. You talked about how he feels about African Americans, and that, not that they were friends with him, but he only liked people who were very famous if they were black people, but he really didn't know any black people or have any black friends. Tell me about Trump as it relates to black people specifically.
Well, let me say that there was also only one black employee in the entire Trump organization. You may remember, again, I said that at the House Oversight when Mark Meadows paraded her out in order to discredit me and state that Donald Trump is not a racist. I mean, I'm not really sure why people don't get it. Donald Trump is a racist. His sister said it. His older sister said it. His niece said it. I'm saying it. Stephanie Winston Wolkoff is saying it. Everybody who technically knows him is telling you that the man is a racist. I'm not sure why people just don't get it.
Well, that's not the question, Michael. It's not that people don't get it. It's that they do get it. It's that they do. And his followers, his base, which, if I was speaking Arabic for a brief moment, the base translates to Al-Qaeda. Yeah. They like it. But it's going to provoke an enormous, ugly, heinous amount of violence. It already has. And Donald Trump is part of the problem. When you have somebody who praises Kyle Rittenhouse, a guy who killed 2 people and blew the arm off of a third person, okay? When you have Donald Trump praising white supremacists by saying there are some very fine people with tiki torches, marching saying Jews will not replace us. And if you're telling yourself, yeah, but his son-in-law is a Jew, he can't be his son-in-law is a billionaire. You see how he could make an exception and give his daughter to a billionaire, no matter what religion that person might be. Donald Trump, would have let Ivanka marry a black Muslim if he was a billionaire. That is the nature of Donald Trump. But honestly, this man is going to cause so much violence here in this country after this election. He's going to encourage it. I don't know that people will respond to it if it's patently obvious that it's a blowout and he's lost and it's an end and it's done and he's gone and he has to go. But prepare yourself, because he is a racist. He's an absolute racist who will rig intelligence, who will give away our secrets to anybody he's trying to impress, who will give legitimacy to a guy like Kim Jong-un, who runs a prison planet, a hermit nation, where almost you got 1 million people, maybe more, in prison camps, in freaking hard labor camps. You got Putin, who is running a mafia state, and I don't know what the... people are starting to talk now about, the Trump Tower deal and about the sale of that house in Palm Beach where Donald Trump believed Putin was actually the buyer for that house, and Putin gave him $50 million. And so that's what his price was to sell out the United States of America. Period. End of story. That the president would tell you, take hydroxychloroquine, or the president would tell you, shoot disinfectant or drink bleach, that the president would tell you stick a lightsaber up your butt, that the president would lie about the contagious nature of a virus that, and didn't prepare the government to do anything at all. Should tell you everything. Tony in Boston.
Randy, there's something that I think you're actually underestimating Trump. I think that those police chiefs who all suddenly resigned? Yeah. These guys didn't have an attack of conscience. There is something going on, and I believe that sometime between now and maybe before the election, or if he, right after he realizes he's lost the election, there's going to be an armed insurrection, I believe.
Well, I happen to have it on good information that Donald Trump is going to do an interview with Jeanine Pirro on Saturday. Judge Jeanine, crazy, wacky judge, drunk Jeanine. And
that'll be highly informative, I suppose.
And she is going to ask him, what is he going to do when he loses? And apparently he is going to, you'll hear him say it, invoke the Insurrection Act. So...
Well, I believe it's going to be worse than that. I think that these people
It can't be worse than that. What the Insurrection Act does is it allows the president to deploy the military on the homeland to have...
Well, yeah, but if it won't be the military per se, it'll be his armed thugs. Because the military still has some limitations in terms of what they can do and what they can't do. His armed thugs, on the other hand, they have no limits.
Well, look, I mean, if he asks for violence, he will actually get violence. People will do it for him because they are a death cult. There's no question in my mind that they are.
And I believe he's going to do it, Randy. He's going to do it.
Well, I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be as an easy, smooth transition of power where he brings Biden into the White House and shows him around and shows look, this is Melania's new garden. And no, I don't think that's.
Well, I think that now is the time to prepare for basically an armed takeover.
And what do you call preparing for an armed takeover?
Well, whatever you would do if you find yourself in that position and you say, I wish I had done or had prepared in some way, now is the time to do it.
And what do you think that thing should be? Because, it's interesting. Well, I'm not trying to put you on the spot in any way. Howard asks me this all the time. He says this to me. He goes, look, you're the smartest person I know. What is it going to be that you wished you did when all this happens? And I keep telling him, if our passports are still useless, then there's nothing that I wished I did. There would be nothing.
Yeah, but we can't go anywhere. Nobody will take us. We're Americans.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, then
if my passport,
I guess you better get ready to fight, Randy. You better get ready to fight.
And I guess I would defend my home and hearth. I guess I would defend my family, if I had to. I know how.
Well,
I know how.
Then you need to get ready. And I think that's what Americans really have to do. You have to get ready, whatever you want to do. You may have to go outside your comfort zone, but in the end, when the armed thugs are rolling down the street, Donald Trump's very fine people, your Constitution and your Bill of Rights isn't going to stop them.
So do you think that our military would fight on the side of the miscreants and the militia dudes?
No, not all of them, but some of them would. And that's going to make it very confusing. If you see the military rolling down the street, you're not going to know which side they're on.
Uh-oh.
But I'm telling you, Randy, he's going to do it.
Stop telling the truth, man. Stop telling the truth. They're coming.
They're coming for you, man. They're coming for you. Holy
I'm
crap.
on the road.
I hear
but
you.
I'm telling you, Randy, he's going to do it.
Well, it's
He's
food
gonna
for
do
thought.
it.
I get it. Again, I don't have a good answer for how to prepare for Donald Trump's militia. I know what everybody's thinking. It's up to you. It's up to you. If you don't have a passport, get one, just in case. For me, the answer is always going to be, very peaceful and, smart. But I can defend myself, and I guess that's what he's telling us, that we need to do.